On the day of my sister's wedding, my parents and sister completely ignored me. I said, "Congratulations," but she wouldn't even look at me. When I found out the reason, I quietly left the ceremony an hour later. Their calls started pouring in, one after another. I turned off my phone and smiled silently. Boston winter mornings are harsh. The wind blowing from Massachusetts Bay cut through the valleys between skyscrapers and rattled the windows of Emma Williams's apartment. Emma had been up since early morning, working as an architect. Her reputation was excellent, and she needed to finish a new project proposal by tomorrow morning. The phone rang, and Emma looked up from her drawings. It was her mother. "Good morning, Mum." "Emma, can you come soon for the final preparations for Sophie's wedding?" Margaret's voice had a hint of anxiety. "We also have the final fitting for your dress." Emma sighed deeply. "I know. I'm planning to come in the afternoon. I'd like you to come by 11 if possible. Sophie wants everyone together for brunch. But Mom, I have a project deadline. Work talk again." Her mother's voice immediately turned cold. "This is your sister's once-in-a-lifetime wedding. You always prioritize work." "That's not true," Emma objected, but she heard her mother sigh anyway. "Please come as soon as you can. Dad and Sophie are waiting." The call ended, and Emma quietly put down her phone. Looking out the window, she remembered how, since her teenage years, she had worked part-time at fast food restaurants to help with family expenses and earned money for her architecture studies. Meanwhile, her sister Sophie had received full financial support from her parents, attended a prestigious university, and now worked as a manager at a luxury boutique. A new message arrived on Emma's phone. It was from Sophie. "Emma, don't be late today. Liam's mother is coming too, so lunch with the whole family is really important." Seeing Liam Harrison's name, Emma flinched momentarily. Sophie's fiancé was a man Emma had met during her college years. It was a fact nobody knew, and something she could never tell Sophie in particular. As Emma headed for the bathroom, she thought about her complicated relationship with her family. Her parents, especially her father Thomas, had always favored her sister. Even when Emma succeeded in her architectural career, the topic quickly ended, and conversation shifted to Sophie's latest achievements or plans. While showering, Emma thought about the uneasy atmosphere she had felt recently since Sophie's engagement announcement. She felt her parents' attitude toward her had grown even colder. Phone calls decreased, and her opinions were increasingly disregarded at family gatherings. After getting ready, Emma left to pick up her wedding dress. In the car, she thought about her success and a strange relationship with her family. Despite being one of Boston's most highly regarded architects, in her family's eyes, she always seemed to be viewed as cold and a workaholic. When she arrived at the dress shop, Sophie and her mother were already waiting. Emma didn't miss how Sophie's expression stiffened slightly. "Finally, you're here." Sophie's voice sounded cheerful, but her eyes weren't smiling. "Liam's sister will be here soon. I think you two will get along." Emma smiled awkwardly. "Yes, I'm looking forward to it." In the fitting room, Emma tried on her dress. Looking at herself in the mirror, she thought something was off, not just her family's attitude, but something unsettling about the entire wedding. She was particularly concerned about the subtle glances Sophie gave her whenever Liam's name came up. "Emma, have you met Liam before?" Sophie suddenly asked. Emma's heart stopped for a moment. "No." "Why?" "Just wondering. When he heard your name, his reaction was a bit strange." "Must be your imagination." Emma maintained her composure. "How would we have met?" Sophie said nothing and returned her gaze, as if satisfied with Emma's answer. However, Emma's anxiety only grew. Did Liam remember her? And if he did, had he said anything to Sophie? As Emma took off her dress, she resolved to investigate the source of tension in the family before the wedding. Something was happening, and she distinctly felt that this something involved her. On the wedding day, luxury cars lined up in front of St. Patrick's Church in Boston, with elegantly dressed people arriving one after another. Emma arrived at the venue slightly late. She had sent apologetic messages to her parents, who had called her several times that morning, but there was no reply. At the church entrance, Emma took a deep breath. Dressed in an emerald green gown, she composed herself, like presenting an architectural project. This, too, was a kind of performance. Miss Emma Williams, a young staff member, approached her. "Your family seats are this way." Emma was surprised to see the indicated seats. They were far from the front row where parents and relatives sat, positioned instead along the side of the church. "Excuse me, I'm the bride's sister. Shouldn't I be in the family section?" The staff looked confused. "I'm sorry, the seating chart specifies this." Emma nodded quietly and headed to the assigned seat. Looking around the church, she saw her father and mother chatting with relatives in the front row. Although she must have been in their line of sight, her parents made no effort to look at her. During the 30 minutes before the ceremony began, Emma tried to approach her parents, but someone always intervened, interrupting conversations. Finally, she managed to speak to her mother. "Mum, my seat seems to have been changed." "It's not with the family." Margaret glanced at her daughter and said coldly, "Sophie decided the seating. It's her special day, so we should respect her wishes." "But why just me?" "Emma," her mother's voice was low and restrained, "today is Sophie's day. Don't cause problems." Emma stepped back at her mother's words. Problems? Was she suggesting that Emma had caused some kind of trouble? "I'd like to greet Sophie." "Where is she?" Emma asked. "She's very busy now," her mother answered without meeting her eyes. "There's so much to prepare before the ceremony begins." Thomas, her father, approached. His expression hardened subtly when he saw Emma. "Thomas, Emma wants to greet Sophie," Margaret told her husband. "That's not possible now." Thomas's voice was colder than usual. "Sophie is busy with preparations. Besides," he broke off. "Besides what?" Emma prompted. "Nothing," her father said. "Return to your seat." The ceremony is about to begin. Emma left her parents and went outside the church. Something was wrong. She took out her cell phone and sent a message to Sophie. "Are you in the dressing room?" "I'd like to say hello." The reply came immediately. "I'm busy now." After the ceremony, Emma sighed. Outside the church, she happened to meet Alex, Liam's best friend. Emma remembered Alex's name and face from her college days with Liam. "Hello, Alex," Emma called out. "I'm Emma, Sophie's sister." Alex looked surprised and stared at Emma. "Oh yes, hello." His reaction was visibly awkward. "It's been a while," Emma said. "Have you been friends with Liam since college?" The color drained from Alex's face. "College? Did you also with Liam at college?" "No, I don't know him," Emma quickly said. "I just meant he talks about you a lot." "Oh, I see." Alex seemed relieved. "Yes, we've been friends for a long time." The conversation continued unnaturally, with Alex checking his watch repeatedly. "Excuse me, I need to find Liam," he said, hastily departing. Emma was confused by Alex's reaction. He seemed to be hiding something. As she walked back toward the church, she overheard Liam and Alex's voices from behind a small terrace. "Did you talk to her?" Liam's voice was tense. "Yes, just briefly," Alex answered, "but I don't think she knows anything. At least she didn't act like it." "Good," Liam sighed. "Sophie thinks she knows something. That's why she's so nervous." "You really didn't tell her anything?" Alex asked. "About college?" "Of course not." Liam's voice rose slightly. "If I did, everything would be ruined. But she might find out someday. We'll deal with that when it happens," Liam said. "Just don't cause any trouble today. Especially stay away from Emma." Emma caught her breath. They were clearly talking about her, and Liam was hiding something from college. She quietly left and returned to the church. She tried to piece together the fragmentary information in her head, but couldn't see the complete picture. Liam was hiding from Sophie that he knew Emma, and that was making Sophie nervous. But why? What? Just before the ceremony began, Emma took her seat. Her mind was confused, but her expression remained calm. The church pipe organ resounded, and all attendees stood up while waiting for the bride's entrance. Emma looked around the venue, her parents' tense expressions, Liam's anxious eyes, and the curious glances directed at her from several people mixed among the guests. Not understanding what was happening, Emma watched Sophie enter on their father's arm. Her sister's face was smiling, but her eyes were cold and never once looked in Emma's direction. After the ceremony, the newlyweds exited down the central aisle of the church. Sophie's face was radiant with happiness, but Emma didn't miss how her expression hardened momentarily as they passed Emma's seat. At the luxury hotel ballroom serving as the reception venue, many guests had already gathered. Upon entering, Emma checked her seat at the reception desk. "Williams, Emma." The reception staff checked the seating chart and showed a slightly confused expression. "Miss Emma, your seat is over there at table 23. Emma looked in the indicated direction. It was a small table in the corner of the room, furthest from the head table. As she approached the table, Emma realized it was 4 single guests, people who came alone, neither family nor part of the newlyweds' friend groups. This must be a mistake, Emma murmured to herself. However, the place card on the table clearly had her name printed on it. Emma slowly took her seat. The other people at the table directed curious glances at her. "You're Sophie's sister, aren't you?" an elderly woman asked. "Why are you sitting here?" Emma smiled. "Yes, I am. There seems to be some confusion with the seating arrangements," the woman said meaningfully. "I've heard a bit about you. Must be difficult." Emma frowned. "About me? What have you heard?" "I'd rather not repeat gossip," the woman said, and changed the subject. Emma's anxiety only increased. It seemed some rumor about her was circulating among the guests. After dinner, the toast speeches began. Father Thomas stood up and blessed his daughter and her husband with moving words. "Sophie, you are our light. We are proud that you have always put family first, being a loving and caring daughter." Emma stiffened slightly at her father's words. The phrase "put family first" seemed to contain some implied criticism, as if to say, unlike her. As cake-cutting time approached, Emma wanted to offer congratulations to her sister. She approached the head table. Sophie was talking intimately with Liam, but when she saw Emma approaching, her expression clouded. "Sophie, congratulations," Emma said with a genuine smile, but Sophie didn't even meet her eyes and remained silent. She turned to her husband and whispered something. Liam looked anxiously at Emma. "Sophie, didn't you hear me?" Emma called again. "I'm wishing you happiness." Sophie turned a cold gaze toward Emma. "Thank you." Her voice was icy. "Would you go back to your seat? We're about to take photos." Emma couldn't hide her hurt expression. "Of course," she said quietly and left. Feeling her heart pounding, Emma headed for the bar. Her head was spinning. She ordered a ginger ale and drank it quietly in a corner of the venue, trying to make sense of the situation. "Are you Emma?" Turning to an unfamiliar voice. A young woman was standing there. "I'm Rachel, Liam's cousin." "Nice to meet you," Emma said. "Is it true you tried to seduce your sister's fiancé?" Rachel asked bluntly. Emma nearly dropped her drink. "Excuse me? Everyone's talking about it." Rachel leaned in. "That you had a relationship with Liam in college, and now you're trying to win him back. That's a complete lie." Emma's voice trembled. "Who would say such a thing?" "Sophie." Rachel shrugged. "She told the whole family. That's why everyone's avoiding you." Emma felt her world collapsing. Her sister spreading such lies about her, so that's why her family was avoiding her and being cold. "Excuse me," Emma said in a shaking voice and headed for the ladies' room. In the bathroom, Emma took deep breaths in front of the mirror. Her face was pale. Touching her cheek, she realized tears were flowing. The door opened, and a woman in an elegant dress entered. She flinched momentarily upon seeing Emma. "Oh, you must be Emma," the woman said. "I'm Charlotte, Liam's sister." Emma wiped away her tears. "Nice to meet you." "Are you okay?" Charlotte asked. However, her voice lacked genuine concern. "Yes," Emma lied. "Just a bit tired." "I see," Charlotte said, beginning to touch up her makeup. "I've heard about you that you abandoned your family and only built your career." Emma looked at her in surprise. "What?" "Sophie told us," Charlotte said coldly. "When she was young, you left home and never came back, right? Never took care of your sister." Emma trembled with anger and sadness. "That's completely untrue. I left home for college, but I came back every weekend." "And fine," Charlotte waved her hand. "It's none of my business. Just don't hurt Sophie today." After Charlotte left, Emma entered a stall and closed the door. "There," she quietly cried. Sophie was spreading complete lies. Far from abandoning her family, Emma had supported the household while attending college and dipped into her own savings to support her family when her parents lost their jobs. Sophie was able to attend a prestigious university, partly because Emma covered some of the tuition. Taking out her cell phone, Emma opened an old photo. It was from college, showing her and Liam in the same classroom. They had indeed known each other, but there was no romantic relationship. It was true that Liam had shown interest in her, but Emma had avoided romance due to her family responsibilities. Everything connected. Sophie had learned about Emma and Liam's past connection and, out of jealousy, was spreading lies. And by telling her family Emma abandoned the family, she was tarnishing her reputation. Leaving the restroom, Emma's expression was filled with determination. She headed to the cloakroom and collected her coat. "Leaving already?" the cloakroom attendant asked in surprise. "Yes," Emma answered quietly. "I just remembered something I need to do." Before exiting the venue, Emma looked back one last time at the head table. Sophie and Liam were cutting the cake, smiling for photographs. Her parents watched proudly. No one seemed to notice Emma was missing. Emma left the hotel and stepped out into the Boston streets, where snow had begun to fall. She hailed a taxi and gave her apartment address. As the taxi pulled away, Emma endured the pain in her chest and thought her family didn't know her truth. They preferred to believe the lies. Arriving at her apartment, Emma sat alone and sorted through the truth. Her sacrifices and contributions had been ignored and distorted by her family, and now she was completely isolated. Emma's apartment was wrapped in stillness. She poured herself a glass of wine and sank deep into a sofa. She was still wearing her dress. Outside the window, Boston's night scenery spread out, with snow continuing to fall quietly. With her cell phone on the coffee table, she was lost in thought. All the evidence to prove the truth was there: records of money, transfers to her family, proof of payments for Sophie's university tuition, records of helping with her parents' mortgage payments. For the past 15 years, she had continued to support her family financially, but those facts had been painted over by Sophie's lies. Emma's cell phone began to ring. Sophie's name was displayed on the screen. She ignored the call and continued to drink her wine quietly. Next came calls from her parents and, surprisingly, from Liam too. "Now they notice," Emma murmured to herself. The phone didn't stop ringing, and messages kept arriving. Emma finally picked up her cell phone and checked the messages. She read a message from Alex. "I want to apologize for what happened at the engagement party. I was drunk and talked too much about Liam's college days. I revealed that you were his first love. Now the venue is in chaos." Emma caught her breath. Alex had revealed the truth, but that couldn't be all. The phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. "Hello," Emma answered. "Emma?" An unfamiliar woman's voice came through. "This is Charlotte, Liam's sister. We met in the restroom. What do you want?" Emma's voice was cold. "I want to apologize to you." Charlotte's voice sounded genuinely sorry. "I didn't know the truth about your contributions to your family. When my mother collapsed at the venue, Liam's friend Alex, who was drunk, started talking about various things that you financially supported your family, especially covering Sophie's education costs. And yet Sophie was lying." "What?" Emma was surprised. "Alex also talked about college days, that Liam was crazy about you, but you turned him down because you had family responsibilities," Charlotte continued. "My mother collapsed from shock, and we wanted to know the truth." Liam admitted, hiding his past from Sophie, and Sophie, she had to admit her lies too. Emma was speechless. Charlotte continued, "The venue is in chaos now. Both families are in conflict. Liam's father is furious. Sophie has broken down in tears, and your parents are unable to accept the truth. What can I do?" Emma asked quietly. "Please come back," Charlotte pleaded. "Our family wants to know the truth. We want to apologize for misunderstanding you." Emma hung up. She turned off her cell phone and stood by the window. Emotions were swirling: anger, sadness, and a strange sense of liberation. With the truth revealed, she laughed quietly. That night, Emma decided to stay at a hotel. The next morning, she opened her laptop and wrote a long letter to her family. It was a true record from her college days to the present. She attached records of money transfers for Sophie's education costs, payments for her parents' medical expenses, and, most importantly, evidence that she had repeatedly put her own dreams on hold for her family. In the hotel room, Emma organized all the truths. In college, Liam had indeed confessed to her. However, at that time, Emma was working to supplement her parents' unstable income while attending school, and romance was the last thing on her mind. She gently declined Liam, and since then, they had kept their distance. When Sophie met Liam, he didn't talk about his past with Emma, and when Sophie somehow learned that fact, she began spreading lies out of jealousy. After sending the letter, Emma turned on her cell phone. It immediately began to ring. This time, it was from her father. "Emma," her father's voice was trembling. "We read your letter, and, unbelievable," Emma asked calmly. "Is all this true, that you did so much for us?" "It's all true," Emma answered. "I've done my best for the family. But you always prioritized Sophie and never saw my efforts. I understand. Her father's voice was filled with regret. We were blind, and we believed Sophie's words too much. How is Sophie? Emma asked. She's confused. Her father answered. Her relationship with Liam is also in crisis. His family is furious knowing the truth and says they're withdrawing their blessing for the marriage. Emma sighed. I don't want revenge on Sophie. I just wanted the truth to be known. Please, Emma, her father pleaded. Won't you come back home? We need to talk, all of us. After a long silence, Emma answered, I can't right now. I need time. After hanging up, Emma thought deeply. She didn't want to hurt her family, but by telling the truth, she felt liberated herself. For years, she had sacrificed for her family, and in return, what she got was misunderstanding and coldness. Emma stepped out onto the balcony and breathed deeply in Boston's morning air. The future was uncertain. She didn't know if she could repair her relationship with her family, but one thing was certain: she would no longer live in lies. Truth sometimes hurts, but that is the beginning of healing. Boston's autumn was beautiful. The trees along the Charles River had turned red and yellow, and fallen leaves covered the walking paths in the park. Emma sat on a bench by the river, holding a coffee. Emma. Turning around, her mother Margaret was standing there. She looked older than before. The color of fatigue had deepened under her eyes. May I sit down? Margaret asked. Emma nodded and indicated the space next to her on the bench. For a while, the two looked at the river without saying anything. Sophie was supposed to come today, Margaret said quietly, but she hesitated at the last moment. I understand, Emma replied. Over the past 6 months, she had gradually resumed contact with her family, but she hadn't yet met Sophie directly. She's receiving counseling, Margaret continued. She's beginning to understand that her actions came from jealousy and anxiety. She said that since childhood, she wanted to be as smart as you. Emma was surprised. Me? But she was always the parents' favorite. That might have been the problem, Margaret sighed. We spoiled her too much. She didn't have your strength or independence, so she developed complex feelings toward you. And Liam? Emma asked. They're still together, Margaret answered, but the relationship is difficult. Liam's family hasn't fully accepted Sophie, and he himself is disappointed in her behavior. They're receiving couples counseling, Emma thought as she drank her coffee. She hadn't wanted revenge. She had only wanted the truth to be known. And Dad? Emma asked. He's reflecting, Margaret said quietly. We were blind. We took your sacrifices for granted because you always took responsibility. We didn't realize how much we benefited under that. Emma took her mother's hand. The anger hadn't completely disappeared, but she felt that a door to understanding had opened. Sophie has started telling her friends the truth, Margaret said. At first she was embarrassed, but now she acknowledges her mistakes and talks about everything you did for us. Clouds drifted away, and the autumn sunlight enveloped them. Complete forgiveness will take time, Emma said honestly, but I'll try. We can't ask for more than that, Margaret smiled. That night, Emma returned to her apartment and stood by the window, gazing at the city lights. Her cell phone rang, and a message arrived. It was from Sophie. Emma, I'm sorry. I didn't have the courage to meet, but someday I want to have the courage to apologize. You were a wonderful sister. I didn't deserve that. Emma stared at the message for a long time, then she replied, Sophie, contact me when you're ready. I'll be here. Emma put down the phone and exhaled deeply. Family bonds are complex. Blood ties are just the beginning of a relationship, and she understood that true family is built on honesty and mutual respect. The path to complete reconciliation might still be long, but on the foundation of truth, they were beginning to build a new relationship, little by little. It wasn't perfect, but at least it was genuine. Stars began to shine in Boston's night sky. Emma smiled as she thought about the future,